I was kind of waiting today. Like, when is Chase going to mention that I got a cut?
I saw it I saw it, but I just didn't want to give you that in the pre-production call.
I actually thought Chase too. I was thinking of what it costs. And I was like, how does Chase get his haircut every week?
I got one too, but I was in dire situation in Nashville. And I know
you went to somebody you didn't know. You went an untrusted barber,
dude. So I'm crazy about it. I met this dude on social media. It was Kane Brown's like main barber who follows him around just in London. And he came through and cut, and it was like $125. And I was freaking out. I was like, this is so expensive.
Like this, but
we came to the house. It is though. I'm like, dude, it's like this guy's,
you're like, I'm flying to Nashville for cuts. Let's go. Oh, welcome into Scoop City on a Wednesday. I am James Palmer. We have our Monday crew. I'll get to that in just a second. We're going to break down some quarterbacks because Chase Daniel is here. We are going to talk about a variety of them. We got the film. Also, who could be the right fit for a rookie quarterback as he heads into year 2 next year in Nashville as the Titans have fired Brian Callahan? We'll get to that. So we'll talk about Cam Ward. We'll see what he needs to put him in the right place to play in year 2 of his NFL season. Josh Allen, what is wrong with the Buffalo Bills offense? Those Falcons were coming after him, by the way. I'm not going to lie. And then lastly, we have Caleb Williams. Woo-wee! How has Caleb Williams played? We could have a 4,000-yard passer with the Chicago Bears. Let's bring in Dianna Russini, the Athletic Senior NFL Insider. I mentioned Chase is joining us. Guys, this is a Monday. We don't know what day of week it is because Chase is somewhere in a mustard-colored room, which means he's calling a game, but it's also not a Saturday. Is everybody else 6s and 7s here? We don't know what's happening. It's a Wednesday. Good to see you.
6, 7.
Where I'm at.
No, but do you guys realize we're almost 50 days into the season already? So we have that like 50-day in, you know how we do that in politics, you know, after the it's like the president's first 100 days or something. We're doing the first
100 days.
Yeah, but the first 50 days, yeah, well, this is like half, you know, the NFL season's like half the year. So it's like the first 50 days of the NFL. And guess what we know? Nothing. I mean, we know a little bit.
Right.
But what's good, what's not. Right. I know. I don't know.
I don't know.
You guys like my mustard color building?
It looks great.
I'm in a Hampton Inn because I'm a Hilton Diamonds member. Shout out Hilton. Love those hotels. But this hotel is in Jacksonville, Alabama, and it's very mustard looking around.
Very mustard.
The 90s, 80s, maybe. Have carpet on the floor. Give me the ick a little bit, but we're here.
Do you go barefoot in there then, Chase? If you got carpet like that in a hotel?
I have socks on right now, James.
Yeah.
I'm like drafting. Even when I get out of the shower, I don't have slippers yet, but I am not walking on this carpet.
Yeah, we might need a pair of road slippers.
You definitely don't follow on Instagram or TikTok, but there's this thing, and I'm sure Hillary definitely follows it, where right now it's very trendy to figure out what your colors are. So this person will come to your house and put different color palettes next to your face. And she's like a professional color matcher. And I think she would come to your room and be like, mustard kind of works on Chase.
Mustard plays for this man. Mustard plays for him.
No, Mizzou Tigers aren't really mustard, but they're gold.
But the yellow, gold, yep.
You know what I mean? It's close. Yeah. It's close. I get it. All right. Let's move along here to what we are hearing. And Dianna, we want to jump into this because, oh, surprise, surprise, the November 4th trade deadline is right around the corner. Teams are kind of getting things in line, right? They're making some calls. They know their finances. They kind of know where they stand within their roster, that this guy we thought maybe had a chance to fill the spot. Yeah, he can't do it. We need to get help outside the organization. But there's so many more people, it seems like, that are seeking than those that are willing to give up, it seems. Are we going to have as many moves as come November 4th as people assume we are?
I think it's going to feel bigger than what the actual day may be. You know, picture it just being a steak and it's coming out of the kitchen and it's sizzling. But when the plate makes it to your table, it may just be like a hamburger. You know, like it's not a filet mignon.
Oh, it's extra well done, not medium rare.
Yeah, disgusting.
Dude. Wait, you eat well done?
No.
What? I don't trust anybody who eats well done.
From Texas, I feel like you.
I'm like rare.
I know. Yeah. Same here. But that being said, right? James, you said something that stood out though. You were like, teams, are looking at the rosters. They know what they need. I agree with you, but there's also this category of teams right now that aren't actually sure what they are right now, because the next 3 weeks are going to determine that. So yes, do they have a plan in place and they're having conversations about what we want to add or what we want to sell depending on how the next few games go? Absolutely. But the teams that are ahead right now, right? Teams like the Chiefs, for example, they're looking for defensive linemen, right? They're going to be making calls over the next few days. There's teams that need running backs. If we wanted to kind of start with just talking about the position I'm hearing the most in terms of what teams are calling, you have the pass rushers and the pass catchers. I would break it down like that in terms of how much I'm hearing about what teams are looking for. It's a different conversation to have about what teams are actually willing to give up this time of year and how we'll go there. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The buyers kind of know much more, Dianna, right now than the sellers, right? You want to know there's still a couple more weeks to find out if you're a full-on seller. The buyers know what they're looking for. I think over these next couple weeks, we'll find out more about, do the Titans want to give up Calvin Ridley? Like, what's happening in Nashville? We'll get to that. We'll talk about Cam Ward coming up in the show, Jacoby Myers, names like that. All the multiple receivers in New Orleans. Like, I think these are things that need to be figured out, but the buyers are all interested. Are there
any blockbuster trades? Like, we thinking like big, or are they like more like, situation?
If they were to go down, if it were to happen, Chase, like I think that's also like another way of you saying like, what's the biggest name we'd see?
Yeah,
like
that's exactly.
I got my eye on Trey Hendrickson, right? We talked about this last week where we said that the 49ers were definitely interested, and they're not the only team making calls to Cincinnati to just sort of feel out if they'd be willing to give him up. They're taking a look. They're one of those teams figuring out what they are, right? So teams are interested. Yeah. Cincinnati trying to figure out what they want to do next. Breece Hall is a name I've heard teams have poked around on. I'm not certain what the Jets are willing to do in terms of moving him. I've heard the asking price has been pretty steep. We'll see if that changes as it comes to, as we get closer to the trade deadline. But pass rusher, Philadelphia as well, right? Zadarius Smith retired recently. So you talk about splashy names, Chase, like we had Devontae Adams last year. That was awesome, right? That was like, oh my gosh, that was like the biggest name in a trade we've seen in a while. I don't really predict anything that fun, but you never know.
Okay. Never know. It would be out of character for the. Is that a hotel phone, Chase? Is that what I hear? Is that your land? Is that the hotel room phone? Is this your hamburger?
I just muted it. I don't know. They're trying to kick me out of this room. Keep going.
I kind of wish you answered.
Lock the door. Oh, you got flip the thing. I'm following Trey Hendrickson as well, Dianna. Obviously, a team like the 49ers is looking for edge help. Eagles are looking for edge help, and it would be out of character for the Bengals to trade within the season. Doesn't happen a lot, but hell, they went and got Joe Flacco, and so that's out of character for them as well. So we'll see what ends up happening. Speaking of Flacco, speaking of quarterbacks, let's cut to the chase here. Let's get to it. Chase is excited to talk about Caleb Williams. If you've seen anything on his social media, by the way, give him a follow on pretty much everything he is. Are you on MySpace still, Chase? I'm not sure if you're still putting up info and game breakdowns on MySpace. But Caleb Williams, are we going to have a 4,000-yard passer for the Chicago Bears, Chase? He is on pace to do that, and we know that's been very elusive there.
Yeah, it's a great call. I think that we will see a 4,000-yard passer. I think that Caleb Williams, just watching him on film, really the last 3 weeks, it's been really cool to see maybe the growth from last year as it is to this year. And a lot of that has to do with like Ben Johnson, and a lot of that has to do with, hey, they're surrounding him. The offensive line has played really well. My biggest takeaway from Caleb Williams, really watching him against the Commanders, is just how well he played in terms of, like, he wasn't erratic. He was really calm, I guess was the word. And it was really cool to see, like, no matter the situation, no matter that it was raining, no matter anything, he really just played about as calm a game as I've seen him play. Sure, it wasn't perfect. The weather was wet. It was rainy. It was cold. It was windy, but he still threw the ball really well. The biggest takeaway, though, doesn't even have to do with Caleb Williams, although it is a situation where you're going to have a Caleb Williams-led Bears team that is rushing and running the football better than I've ever seen them do that before. And I think that's the biggest thing is the balance from Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. They ran the football 27 times. They threw the football 29 times. That balance really helped out on Caleb Williams and everything that he's been able to do. So that's probably my biggest takeaway from that.
Chase, I want to ask you a question that we asked before the season started that I'm curious if you have an opinion now. Remember, we were worried that Ben Johnson may just be a good coordinator, that he just may be a dork sitting in his room on his computer drawing up plays. And now he's the head coach. Are you bought in on him? Do you think that now he's proved to you that he can do this job?
Yeah. Look, it's 3 games that I felt like they've really started to find their identity offensively. And when you look at those 3 games as a play caller, I think it's been excellent. I really do. Specifically this last game, and I put it out on social, and I want to hit it here again, is like I felt like this version of the Chicago Bears style of offense, whether it's like they have inside zone, they have outside zone, they have power run game, they're handing it to receivers, they're doing it like Caleb Williams carrying the football for a touchdown. It's about as close to the Detroit Lions game plan that I saw from the last few years. And when I say game plan, I mean just how it looks offensively. Like you can tell the concepts that they're bringing over from Detroit that they're now bringing to Chicago. It's just it's cool to see for Chicago Bear fans because this is really the best game I've seen them run the football just overall since I've been covering this game. And it's in a short time, but it's good because that's what you need as a quarterback. You need the run game.
I think, Dianna, what you said and what Chase added to it is exactly, I think, answers the question you're asking, right? Because that was the biggest thing over the last couple of weeks. To my understanding, Ben Johnson has driven in practice and in meetings. We need to run the football better. He was a maniac about it during the bye week. And when a coach is able to drive something home like that you've been struggling with, and then you go out and you succeed, and you have, Chase, you saw receivers buying in, getting physical in the run game. You saw the offensive line, the way they were doing it, all of that coming together. It's like, well, your head coach really wanted something to happen. He told all of you to buy in, and you got results for it. I think that's one of the things you can sell early on as a head coach. Chase, I want to look at a little film here with Caleb, and the question I had with it here was, how do you see the ball coming out? Is he playing on time? I know that's our big question. Is he holding on to it a little longer than you'd like? Just all of that, if you can answer that within this film breakdown you have.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Caleb is doing a really good job of, one, not forcing the ball when stuff's open. And we're going to see this film break. This was one of my favorite plays of the game of Caleb, not just because he's throwing a slant route and it's an 11-yard gain, but if you really watch and really understand how he's getting the ball to Rome Odunze, one, it's quick game, and you're going to see number 4, the linebacker right there, right in the middle, reads Caleb's eyes, and then Caleb is somehow able to see out of the corner of his eye this flash of red and black just running by him, and it's just really a microcosm of growth, I think, for Caleb Williams, because look, it's not a crazy concept, but he's being really efficient. Like you're going to see the halfback, and he's going to motion out to the left. And right now, he's like, all right, I have man-to-man coverage. I know it's man. There's a stack receiver formation down here at the bottom. I have one-on-one up top with both my tight end and Rome Odunze, but I have a middle guy, and that's number 4. And that linebacker, you're taught to let the slant go right at the numbers, but somehow he's able to pull it back. And when you're able to pull it back and you're able to not throw it, I mean, this could have been a pick 6, guys. Like, and it just shows the growth. Like he's trying to hold them in the middle of the field, but when he doesn't, and the linebacker goes right there, they're paid a lot of money. He's able to just pull it back, and he's able to, without much space, like that's a pick 6. Like that is an interception, but he's able to still get enough juice on it for an 11-yard gain. It's just going to look like an 11-yard game in the stat sheet. But there's nothing crazy about this play, but you have everyone inside and you have everyone thinking DeAndre Swift is going to get the football, but you're able to use and get creative. And that's the Ben Johnson that we know and love. And there's a lot of defenders, but they motion over Like the receiver, I think that's Dunze on the corner. He's going to come down and block 25. His man follows him. And then you just have DeAndre Swift leading one-on-one with Caleb Williams. Like it's a really good play to find ways, like good, successful teams in the red zone, they run the football. And if you can run the football, and I'm not saying he needs to carry the ball, 5 times a game, but if he has enough juice in his legs and everything to be able to get that, like that's just to me like a really good play down here in the red zone. And it really showed up.
I like it. I like what we're seeing. I like what we're seeing from Caleb Williams. I love it. Let's move on to Drake Maye, who is playing like, I don't know, Chase, one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. I was just thinking about this, guys, the other day going, remember when everybody was trying to move up to 3? Dianna, remember when you were gathering information about people trying to get to 3 and they didn't move. They stuck. They took Drake Maye, and I think they're pretty damn happy about it right now. Chase, what are you seeing right now that he's doing offensively with this group that can't run the ball? Like they just don't have a run game. It seems like, and he's able to move the football the way he's moving it.
Well, that's one thing that I wrote down in some notes when I was watching this. They have to find a run game. Like they really do. It's going to make them a threat.
I don't believe that they're going to be looking for one by the trade deadline either, though. This is an organization trying to collect picks. Like it wouldn't make sense.
I know.
Like this is the start.
It doesn't make sense. But like if you're Mike Vrabel and you're Josh McDaniels and you have seen the growth that really Drake Maye has provided, not only this year but last year as well, right? We were on it like, hey, we felt like Drake Maye needed to play right away. They played Jacoby Brissett, all this stuff. I get that, but once he started playing, like I don't know, and there's a lot of really good second year quarterbacks. I don't know if there's, in fact, there hasn't been a guy that's been a second-year quarterback that has grown more through playing. And that's just Drake Maye, like the comfort level he has in the pocket. Like you see him doing these things that, maybe you didn't see at UNC, but he's using his legs to buy some time. And you saw this like little flip to the right. You saw like these throws down the field. It's not like they're just dinking and dunking. And you got to give credit to Josh McDaniels because the scheme that has really fit Drake Maye. They're doing some stuff he did at UNC that he felt really comfortable with, but really it's the Josh McDaniels scheme where I've never understood the Patriots way. Like I'm watching these route concepts. I'm like, how are you supposed to read these? But it's like the Tom Brady type thing where it's just like, man, it just makes sense. Like they got crossing routes and then it's a really unique way to run an offense. But Drake's just really, I think the biggest thing is the comfortability within the scheme that is making him and letting him play fast.
But think about the fact that he's been able to do this in just 6 weeks. Going back to saying it's only the first 50 days of the season. And the fact that him and Josh McDaniel have been able to find this groove and relationship that works. I've been around them, covering them a few times. And I can tell you that they have just a connection already, which I think just is really impressive that they've been able to give him this much. And I believe that Drake Maye has done things naturally that have impressed the coaching staff as well. Not saying that they ever underestimated him, but I think he's doing things in these games that make them go, oh, I mean, even just watching some of this, like even that throw to Stephon Diggs, I know they got the penalty on it. Like, I'm like, I didn't know he had it in him, right? Even just some of the athleticism, the toughness. These are things that are part of his game now that they're just going to keep building off. And just the fact that they've got the guy, they know he's the guy. I know we still have question marks about other quarterbacks, but they're one I can check off the list and say, well, they got him.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think that's such a good observation from you. Just the physical tools and talent, right? When I was breaking him down last year during the draft, or 2 years ago during the draft, a lot of coaches, and we said this on this before, a lot of coaches felt like he had an arm strength and build to like Phillip Rivers. Like he's a big son of a gun, and he's country, and he has the arm strength, and he has everything about like what made Phillip Rivers great. He's way more athletic than Phillip. So you put that athletic ability plus the arm strength, plus just like a big core, and just it's got to be a good feeling after a few years after Tom Brady left to know you have the guy of the next 15 years.
You know the biggest thing that Phillip Rivers was able to do, Chase? Stay on the field.
Have children?
All the time. Well, he's tremendous at having children.
Dianna.
But
That's off.
was he not? He was always available.
Yeah.
And if you ask people in New England, that's something that Drake has figured out very quickly of, I know how big and fast these defensive guys are. I can make plays. I'm 6'4". I can go outside the pocket. I can make some plays. But I do know how to stay. They feel like he has an understanding of how to stay on the field, like not unnecessary risks, things like that. I think that's a big sign of the growth early on. And then the ability to just third and fourth down. He's been incredible. Like, got to have at moments. He's been incredible. The composure, the completion percentage. Well, it's unbelievable. They're first place in the division. He's pressured. He's got a 72% completion percentage against the blitz. 6 touchdowns, no picks. It's in the big moments when you should panic. He seems to be really calming down. And I think obviously there's 2 guys that he deserves credit. There's 2 guys that also deserve credit too, and Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, where we talked about both of them. Big game going back to Nashville for Vrabes, Dianna, as they head to Tennessee. He won't talk about it, I guarantee it, but he will behind closed doors. Let's get to the Bills here and what's happening with the Buffalo Bills. Are we panicking, Dianna, at all about what's happening with a true Super Bowl contender and the reigning MVP as they head into this bye week?
Let me just start with a conversation I had with someone there this morning. I'm not sensing panic from them as an organization, but they are not happy with where they're at. And obviously coming off 2 straight losses, who would be? But they realize that they've got to fix some of these issues, and those problems are on defense. Okay. So yes. And Chase, we're going to get into some of the stuff on offense that you saw that I know that they want to work on. But in terms of, you talk about the focus that Ben Johnson had about running the ball, I think there's going to be a similar type of, we need to fix these problems on defense mentality head into practice this week for this Bills team, knowing that if that's going to be the weak area of this team and they get exposed that way and they don't make any big moves by this trade deadline, this could be a problem for this Buffalo Bills team.
Yeah. Chase, are you?
I mean, I can't. I can't agree more. I think the discourse, but around Josh Allen is so overblown. For the Bills in general, right? I do think I'm with you, Dianna. The defense, that's sort of been the struggle, and it's a little bit on what's led to the struggle offensively, because it's felt like, at least in the last 2 games, losses, that Josh Allen has had to keep up. And he's had to maybe press a little bit more than what he's used to. And look, I just think that when you watch him play and you understand like how this team wins games, right? There's only been, in 6 games, he's only thrown the ball 31 times or more in 1 game. So they're not asking him to do a lot. And you see some shades. The last 3 games, there's been 4 interceptions of maybe forcing some footballs that he hasn't in the past, and he feels like he has to be that Josh Allen Superman. But like at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I just can't, in this wide open AFC, I can't imagine, guys, that there's not a world where deep in January, they're still playing and they're one of the best teams in the AFC. They're still 4-2. They're a half game out of first place in the AFC or the AFC East. And I don't get the like, oh, Josh Allen is doing this and that. I know their team has issues, but let's just take a deep breath. Let's go on bye week. Let's just relax. And, at the end of the year, they're going to be a 10-11 win team, and people are going to be like, oh, why don't we talk about them for this and that? That's just what I believe.
You know what type of fan base this is, Chase. we know this is Bills Mafia. Like, I don't think they want to take a breath right now with what they have going on. I'll ask you a very blunt question on behalf of Bills Mafia. Can Keon Coleman play football?
Yeah, he can play football. I do think that's really what, how do I put this nicely? That's what really stands out on film. Not just Keon Coleman, the outside numbers. No, I think Josh Palmer. Yeah. The lack of playmaking skills outside the numbers. That's what gives me a little bit of pause. James Cook is not having as much success, running the football. He's a very effective, efficient runner who put a ton of touchdowns on the board last year. They're just not really doing that because like there was a strategic and direct move from when Ken Dorsey was the OC to then that really the next game after he got fired and Joe Brady became OC, and it's been this way. They're a running team first. Like they want to run the football. They want to control the clock. They have a defensive head coach. Like that is like the background, and special teams, all that stuff. So they want to run the football. And when running the football is not working, I mean, it's what do you got to do? You got to throw the football. And if you don't have guys that separate, we did this whole thing last year. I mean, it's literally a repeat of last year. Like, but that's why I'm the Ravens game. Remember the Ravens game last year? Like everyone was like, oh my gosh, they can't separate. They can't do this. They can't do that. And then what did Josh Allen do? He wanted to go win MVP. They just have to figure out what they do well offensively. But if I was a defense and I'm playing Josh Allen, I'm playing press man to man. I'm putting 7-man guys in the box and saying, beat me outside. And that's exactly what sort of the Falcons did. Now they got
back when the Patriots did it on Sunday Night Football. Like
the Falcons
did kind of out now.
I would just play man to man.
And
let me ask you this, Dianna. I have to ask you this because of what Chase is saying. They went out and made a move last year. They went out and got Amari Cooper for the exact same problem. And now it's the same problem in year 2. Again, do they have a plan to fix it? And do you think they make any sort of transaction?
I don't get the sense that they're going to make a move here on offense for right now. That could change, of course. I mean, I know Chris Olave is the name that everybody's been buzzing about as he'd be the perfect answer for a Bills offense that could certainly use, as Chase said, a player to be dynamic, really. They don't have anyone. A.J. Brown's a name that I'm sure Bills fans would love. Don't see Philadelphia moving him. So, yeah, we'll see if it changes as we get closer. But I don't get the sense that they're aggressively calling around to find a pass catcher. My point I was going to make real quick before we move on was just about Josh Allen's play. Talked to some people a few weeks ago. One of the compliments that he was getting was that he was doing such a good job of actually not running as much, right? Like being a little bit more particular about when he was going to unleash. And what do you always see Josh do when the offense starts losing that almost that orchestration, that collection? He starts trying to make things happen with his legs, and but it doesn't always work, right? Like we talk about Mahomes doing it all the time, but when Josh does it and he's moving too quickly, Chase, and then please coach me up if I'm wrong from the way it was explained to me, it was like, soon as he starts speeding up that way, that is not the Josh Allen you want. The slowed down version.
Exactly right. The slowed down version, meaning like he lets the game come to him, and then he's just an absolute assassin when it is. And there's these go balls, and he makes them miss. When Josh gets a little bit out of whack, like I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football, just in general. When he gets a little bit out of whack, his mind speeds up, and he's trying to do too much. And that's really been the case of when we see bad Josh Allen. That's the case. Sometimes a throwaway is better on third down than an interception down and he knows that, right? Like that's nothing new. Just in general, next goes back to when he even started playing pro football, like his first rookie year. Like that's sort of been the case with Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to give the Atlanta Falcons a little bit of love. That is the number one defense in football right now. They are balling. Talking to people in Atlanta yesterday morning, it was, we are not used to this. Like, we have not seen this type
they have
of
a pass rush
in forever. We have a pass rush. We have a party in the backfield. I mean, the mantra up front, no more than 4 plays in a row, and we're rotating. They're fresh. They're coming after the quarterback. Yeah. I mean, they've been impressive with Atlanta. Coming up, we are going to talk about Cam Ward and his future. Who will be directing that future? Who will be coaching him in that future? And what's next for the Tennessee Titans? That's coming up next on Scoop City. Welcome back to Scoop City on a Wednesday. James Palmer, Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel in a mustard hotel room, getting ready to call a football game, but he's spending some time with us as we break down some quarterbacks here on Scoop City. There's a quarterback that's going to be searching, like multiple quarterbacks that have been the number 1 overall pick before him, a new head coach in year 2. Cam Ward is now going to have a new head coach with the Tennessee Titans in his sophomore season, as the Titans have parted ways with Brian Callahan after going 4-19. So now it was Trevor Lawrence, and then he had a new head coach, and then it was Bryce Young, and he had a new head coach, and Caleb Williams, and he had a new head coach. And now it's Cam Ward.
Crazy.
But can I scream right
really
now?
That's
crazy.
I've seen that stat everywhere since Brian Callahan was fired on Monday afternoon, which I have to tell you, it was a surprise that he was fired right now. It was not a surprise that he was fired. I think most people around the league assumed this would be it unless they had some wild miracle turnaround. But the fact that I think most people in that building were just going to ride this thing out here to protect Cam Ward, to not go through another change and perhaps some dysfunction. But after the way they lost in Las Vegas, ownership made the call and said, okay, like we need a change now. And obviously, this isn't the first time we've seen Amy Adams Strunk make a pretty, I call it impulsive decision, James. Look, we all know she was probably going to fire him, but the way the team has performed, and I think there's levels of embarrassment there when you're seeing that, and it's not getting any better. And they have fired many people. Obviously, we know they started 2025 firing Rand Carthon. Before that, they fired Mike Vrabel. Right before that, they fired John Robinson. Right before that, they fired Mike Mularkey after he won a playoff game. Right? Like, they have gone through a lot of change. And the biggest question I have for the Tennessee Titans right now is, what are they? And, before the Brian Callahan era, I think most people in football knew what they were. Was it perfect? No. But when John Robinson was there, when Mike Vrabel was there, it was
an identity.
His identity, yes. Right? And so now they're going to play with an interim head coach in Mike McCoy leading this way against Mike Vrabel's Patriots. And my thought is, like, this was never Brian Callahan versus Mike Vrabel anyway, right? I think we can all agree they were two separate coaches at different levels. This, to me, this game isn't even the Tennessee Titans versus Mike Vrabel. This is the Tennessee Titans versus themselves. This is them looking across, actually, at this Patriots sideline and not even making it about Vrabel, but going, wait, this was an organization that was really bad the last few years, but they got the quarterback and they figured out who the leader was, and it just happens to be their former, right? That maybe that can give them some hope that if they could find the right guy, they too can be on this upswing that we're seeing New England. Look how fast they've turned it around. So that's kind of how I want to see this organization look at themselves in the mirror really this Sunday versus making this personal against Mike Vrabel and just all the stuff that comes with it that was really actually pretty immature.
I feel like you got yourself in a kiss here.
Yeah, golf clap, because that was an extremely.
Just go off a little. Sorry, I got a little.
No, I like it.
Great take. You blacked out a little bit. You gave a really good answer, and to me, it's like you put it nicely. The Titans are a disaster. Like, it's hard to be like. I don't even know the words. Like, the firing and hiring and firing and hiring. Like, at some point, the ownership has to stand up and be like, this is our guy. We're going to stand by them, make sure they hire a staff around them. You have the quarterback of the future. Now you need a leader, because they don't play in a very difficult division, right? The AFC South isn't known for, now I know the Colts and Jags they're better, but there's no reason that the Tennessee Titans should be, I'm not going to say the laughing stock, but like, everyone I talk to within the game that is former players or coaches or former, they're like, what are they doing? Like,
what are the Tennessee Titans? Early. And guess what people would say? Irrelevant. And that is the worst thing you want to be in the NFL.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't want to be that in a city that has so many other options like Nashville. Man, there's a lot to do. And you're opening a $1 billion stadium, and you got to get that fan base energized for this.
It has to be an offensive head coach. It has to.
Okay, let's get to that, Chase.
I'm curious what Chase wants. Okay, go. I'm excited.
Because I kind of want to set it up this way. You are excited. I kind of want to set it up in this is oftentimes we see in the NFL, and you both know this, the pendulum swings back the opposite direction of whatever way you most recently failed. Well, it was a first-time offensive-minded head coach in Brian Callahan, and there is a thought right now in the league, to my understanding, that it would swing back towards the importance of leadership and understanding how this entire thing operates. But at the same time, there's this giant elephant in the room that is named Cam Ward going, this is the future of your organization. So I think they're almost, Dianna, what in the process right now, do you think it's early and it's going to be in depth? They gave themselves all the time in the world to look at 1,000 candidates.
Yeah.
But do you think that's a 1A, 1B? Do you see it in the order I gave it, that leadership is ahead of an offensive mind? How do you see it right now in this opening stage of the search.
Yeah. I think they're looking for leadership. I also think they're looking for some familiarity with general manager Mike Bergonzi, right? Which leads you to the name of Matt Nagy, who we've seen have an opportunity with the Chicago Bears. And he would be the first to tell you there's so much he would have done differently there. And anytime you've been around Matt, and James, I know you have spent tons of time around him, he's such a different person since Chicago. And so reflective of the mistakes he's made and the things he wants to do better. He met with the New York Jets during their coaching search. I think Lou Anarumo is a name that we're going to hear again come back up. So you talk about leadership, right? And look, we mentioned, or at least I mentioned a little bit about, how New England did it with, hey, you get the leader, you get the right guy who can rally the troops and call all the shots. But if you can come with an offensive coordinator that's a baller like you see in Josh McDaniels, if they could find maybe a combo like that where you get the leader of the men, but you get an offensive coordinator that can lock in with Cam Ward and hopefully iron out some of the trouble that he's had to start this. So you've got those guys. And then you've got names like Anthony Weaver, who was a big name in the last cycle. So that to me says leader of men in terms of names that would be on their list. And look, it's gonna grow as the season goes and more coordinators impress. So look, I think this is what makes it hard. I spoke to an executive last year during the hiring process, and I guess I never really thought about it until he said it. He's like, I don't think you get it, or people understand how hard it is to make the right hire. Everyone gives their, and I guess it's like any job, right? Like everyone's presenting, everyone says they're going to do this, everyone claims they've done this, that, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes down to standing in front of these men, right, Chase, like to be able to stand up there and lead and get these guys to buy in, like we're seeing Ben Johnson do, like we've seen, like even Brian Dable lately, right? Like you're seeing these guys have that quality. I think it's hard to gauge, and you don't know until you see it rolled out. And I think we can all see around the league, and even the Tennessee Titans can probably say about their last hire, sometimes you're just better at being a coordinator than you are a head coach.
Yeah. I mean, look, go ahead, James.
No, I was going to say it would be interesting if Brian Callahan's completely out of a job. It's like Cincinnati's like, you're pretty great here. Come back here. You want to come back in some sort of role to finish the season? Like that kind of helped him get that. What Diana's saying is right though, but like that's kind of what helped him get the job. His work with Joe Burrow. He had worked with Peyton Manning. Like you look in the room, going, these are checking boxes we're looking for.
Look at their front office. They're all hanging their hats on what they've done and the teams they've been a part. Whether that's Chad Brinker with the Packers, whether that's Mike Bergonzi with the Chiefs. They said that in their press conference the other day. Among their front office in Tennessee's got 9 Super Bowls combined. I mean, kind of an obnoxious thing to say in a press conference, but they were just trying to lay out their accolades of like, hey, you may not believe we know what we're doing, but we do. And
obviously say that when you got an owner with a quick trigger finger.
It is so obvious in this last hire, Brian Callahan, that they went the opposite in terms of just even personality, right? Like you've been around, right? Like Mild mannered.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I mean, look, I'm bullish on an offensive head coach for a couple of reasons. One, just look at the teams. The last 4 quarterbacks taken number overall. I've seen their head coach fired. Trevor Lawrence, who they replace Urban Meyer with, back-to-back offensive head coaches. Bryce Young, Frank Reich fired. Who do they replace him with? Offensive head coach. Caleb Williams, Matt Eberflus fired. Who do they replace him with? Now I went and it did go, defense to offense, but offensive head coach. I just can't see any world, and I do like the leader of men style because we've talked about it a lot. Yes. You have to go offense here. Like you have to go offense with maybe somebody. Yeah, I mean he could do it.
Right, he lives in Nashville or Memphis, right? Like his family's from there. He's been there.
The one I'm bullish is Matt Nagy, and because of what you said for Bergot, like they've been together. I'm like. Matt Nagy is a friend. Like he coached me. He was my quarterback coach. He is a confidant. He's the one that I talk to a lot. And even like today, we were texting, and it's just he was saying nothing about the Titans job. He's been really helping me as I'm announcing, like really on game management. Like I've been really wanting to dial in on game management, and he sent me a 3-page text. I was asked, hey, what makes a really good third down team successful? Like, what are the areas? Like, I know, but like, how am I able to portray it to a not? He sent me a 3-page text with so many different bullet points. And it is.
I think he used his thumbs, or was that on a desk or a computer?
He probably did the swipe to text, but I say that like, and I know this for a fact. He has gone through and did some soul searching on what went wrong in Chicago, how he can get better. He's older, he's more mature, he's more of a leader of men. I just think that like that makes a lot of sense. The name that really sticks out though, like is Joe Brady. Like I think Joe Brady and Cam Ward, and I said this, I think Joe Brady would be like a perfect guy for the job because I've been with Joe Brady too. He is a leader of men, but he's a good offensive mind too. And they're not just going to throw the football around the yard. You can just see what he's doing with Josh Allen. I get what y'all are saying. I know nothing about. I would be really shocked if they didn't go offensive minded head coach.
Jeez, I was at.
I think which week. Ahead.
No. Oh, I was just going to tell a quick Nagy story. I was at the combine and I hadn't seen Matt in a while, and we weren't exactly friends when he was in Chicago because I was pretty tough on him. And so when you're at the combine, you have tons of like meetings and coffees and drinks and dinners set up with people. And I had a bunch of stuff coming up, and I went and grabbed a quick coffee, and I see Matt, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to see him. I kind of want to avoid him. But then I was like, all right, I'm just going to go up and talk to him. So we talked 2 hours. We talked standing at that Starbucks. Oh. And it was just about reflection. He's awesome. Yeah. And we, we're obviously cool now, but it was like, here's what I didn't get. And this is the stuff that so many first-time head coaches will tell you. I saw Adam Gase last offseason. He'll write a book about it if you want. Like, I think they just need some time to reflect it. I bet you Brian Callahan was reflective about his first year in the offseason when I asked him at the Senior Bowl. And he's like, I messed up so much. I didn't know. You don't know. It is so hard. And I just think it's so easy to be like, well, look, Sean McVay stepped in and he's a star. Kyle Shanahan is a star. And there's a few that are just special.
Yeah. There's two things that I think about when you say that, Dianna. These guys are all teachers. So when they see mistakes, they're very good at fixing them. So even in their own experience, that's why they have so much energy when you talk to them. And I've had the same conversations with Nagy and others where they're almost like energized by what went wrong, and they know how to fix it this time around if they get another shot. And oftentimes it's about the staff that you hired, the roles you put certain people in. Oftentimes in your first year, you're scrambling for a staff and you don't know exactly what you're looking for. Yeah. Your second time around, you have a very good understanding of what you're looking for in certain position coaches, certain roles. And then the other portion of this I want everybody to remember is Mike Morganzi running the show there and the number of years he has been a potential general manager candidate. And what happens in each one of these cycles, Dianna, if you're a potential GM candidate, you are talking to other potential head coaching candidates. Can the two of us go here? Because oftentimes these jobs open up together. Hey, if you're talking to them as a head coaching candidate, think about me as a GM. You as a GM, think about me as a head coach. There's a lot of philosophical trading of thoughts that go on in that process that Mike has had with a number of people. That could have potentially paired with him in previous places that he interviewed for. So he has a pretty good, because of his experience in searching for a GM job, Rolodex of way a lot of these guys would approach the interview and a way a lot of these guys would approach their head coaching spot. So I think that past of him having to wait might actually play in the Titans' favor a little bit in this search process.
I think it's a great point that I didn't think about. I looked at it as, I thought you were going the direction of he's met with other owners to see how other franchises were trying to do things and was going to take that. But that's a great point to help figure out who's out there and having to meet these guys. And I can tell ownership has a lot of trust in what Mike Moranzi is going to do just based on what they've seen already.
All right. Before we press on to our final block, we do have to follow the Cam Ward aspect of this. Chase, what is happening this year? We are 6 weeks into the season. He now has Mike McCoy as who knows quarterbacks and has been around a lot of different quarterbacks in his career, but he is now his head coach, his interim head coach. How do you prevent Cam Ward from thinking this is just a lost season? How do you find a way for him to continue to grow within this building?
Yeah, that's a good point because it is a lost season. But for him personally, I think it just starts with, hey, going back to work and understanding, hey, these first 5 games didn't go as well as we wanted to. What have I done well? What have I not done well? And really just schematically, like, hey, we probably need to run the football more. We probably need to incorporate some type of under center play action stuff with Cam Ward, not just this RPO stuff. And we also need to incorporate some of what he did really well at the University of Miami, which is just like run around and make cool stuff happen. And I think the offensive line hasn't played really well. Yeah, I mean, because there is that, like, you don't ever want to take the stinger away, right? And I do think this is going to be a huge year for Cam Ward, really in his growth, in like, hey, not physically, because physically, like I've seen enough on film, like he's their guy, but like mentally, emotionally, psychologically, like don't this year, like you want to win some games, you want to stack some games, but don't try to press. Like, first of all, I just don't think people understand just how difficult it is to play the position of quarterback in the NFL, and then you're a rookie doing it with a team that's not so great in a fired head coach. Like, it's a lot, and it can be a lot mentally, it can be a lot psychologically for these young guys. The young guys, though, that I've seen really press on is like the guys that are confident in their ability, because you can only control what you can control. You can't control the hiring process, you can't control the firing process, you can't control what we're going to do. But I'm sure he'd love to have a little bit more say in the offense. Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. I think he knows what he does well. And I think that's really important for not only this year, because this year, like it's a lost year, but for years to come. How can we build on something? How can we show coaches and potential, coaches, this is where I'm at. And I feel like I can be one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
All right, we'll see what he can do. I just remember, by the way, Trevor Lawrence, after that first lost season, I was told he was just like waiting for Doug Peterson to arrive, like outside of his office for his first day, just forever, just hoping like, hey, I lost this season. Can we get working on year 2, like immediately as quickly as possible, and get started. Okay, Chris Branch is going to be asking us a question, and we're going to answer that next on Scoop City. All right, welcome back to Scoop City on a Wednesday. James Palmer, Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel with you. We wrap things up with a question oftentimes on Wednesday. Chase gets to participate in this. I like it because Dianna and I usually just answer a question and it's just the two of us, and now he's here. Chris Branch is going to be asking us a question from the Pulse. Chris, fire away. Mac, roll this.
Hey, Scoop City friends. Chris Branch of the Pulse back here. First off, I have to clear the air. My daughter's basketball goal is still here, not in this room. I laid the concern last time. So I'll be in future hits. I have 2 which would you rather questions today. My first one has to deal with 2 teams that are intertwined. The Eagles and the Chiefs. Which one would you rather be right now? The Eagles, if you were looking at the standings, you would say the Eagles, right? They lead the NFC East. They're 4-2. They are defending Super Bowl champions with basically everyone back. And yet, I think I would rather be the 3-3 Chiefs that are just coming off a huge win over the Lions. They get Rasheed Rice back next week. And the Eagles look broken. But then again, I go back and think, like, the Eagles do this every year. We wanted to fire Nick Sirianni 3 weeks into last season, and they won one of the most impressive Super Bowl performances that I've ever seen. So which would you rather?
Listen, they wanted to fire Nick Sirianni when he was playing guys in rock, paper, scissors when he was going through his first draft process in Philadelphia. And they wanted him out. This guy is playing rock, paper, scissors. I'll start with you, Dianna, shaking the head. Which one are you taking?
I am 1,000% taking the Kansas City Chiefs because they just have a more collective understanding of what they want to do. They figured out their identity last game. We had a little panic attack, I think, about whether or not they could do this again and fix it, because it just seems like the same script that they follow every year, where it just seems a little muddy. But we know that Andy Reid never even looks at September as being like real, because they don't play a lot of their guys during the preseason. So that all being said, with Rasheed Rice returning and just now being another addition to help elevate this team, I'd much rather, or at least I'd put my money on the Kansas City Chiefs in the state that they're in, compared to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are admittedly struggling to figure out what they want to do and who they want to be.
The question's a tricky one. It's, would you rather be at this point in the season? Chiefs or Eagles? It's 1,000% the Chiefs. Like, it's not even close in my opinion. I think there's a couple different mindsets to it. One, Patrick Mahomes is playing like Patrick Mahomes we've seen like from a couple years ago. He's throwing the football down the field. He has, I believe, 10 touchdowns the last 3 games, and over 1,000 total yards. And so the dude is balling like he's playing MVP type level football. He's doing it without his number 1 receiver. Like, they are so excited to get Rashee Rice back. It is unbelievable. It's going to open up the pass game. They're running the football better. They've averaged like 130 rushing yards over the last 3 games, which a lot of people don't know or talk about. And I know Patrick Mahomes is part of it, but they're getting that going. That's usually not an Andy Reid type thing this early in the season. So I think the Eagles are still really good. I still think that they're probably the front runner or one of the front runners to make it a deep run into the playoffs. But the way the Chiefs are rolling right now, and we said it. I said the Chiefs, everyone's going to freak out. Just get this 3 and flank through 6 games. It's going to look like 2 years ago where they're just going to go on a run. And I think this is the case.
Yeah, you got the best player on the planet. There's 13 teams in the NFL right now that have 4 or 5 wins. The Chiefs are not one of them. And I think the majority of people would say they have more confidence in the Chiefs than those 13 teams that sit there with more wins. I will say this, though, as we keep saying it, and I've said it as well and other things. I was just on the radio in Kansas City saying it. Wait till Rashee Rice comes back. He's been doing this without his number 1. Oh, guys, their offense is disjointed. It's because they don't have Xavier Worthy. Cut him a break. Baker Mayfield has been playing without his receivers nonstop and just balling. So I'm going to give Baker a little bit of love because it hasn't slowed his down.
MVP.
Him down at all. He is. I just kind of want to throw that out there. But I'll make it a clean sweep and say you'd probably rather beat the Chiefs and where they're headed right now. And I'll bring up a different reason. Chase mentioned the run game, and it's something that coincides with that is that this offensive line is coming together, and it's allowed them to run the football. It's allowed them to run the football under center. And Chase, him having some more time, Patrick Mahomes, for these shallow crosses that happen with Rashee Rice and these plays that they run with him, if the offensive line comes together, it's scary what they can do. But I would say Denver's playing well. Chargers in the division. It's a little different, within the division than say the Eagles. But I still think I take the Chiefs. Anybody have a closing thought, Dianna? You got a scat. So do you want to say anything, or should we just close this out?
I wanted to ask you, do you trust the Eagles? That was what I was saying while you're talking. I'm like, yeah, but James, you trust the Eagles. Like, I don't trust them right now on October 15th. But I think that's going to change in December. I think I'm going to like them a lot better.
I do think they operate within dysfunction better than 99% of the teams in the NFL. I think they can handle it better than other ones. It's just normal for them, it seems like. Honestly, like DJ Brown being upset is not a new thing. Like it's something that they've had to deal with before in the past and had to do. They know the way their locker room has some issues. I do think they've lost some key leaders over the last 2 seasons that are not getting talked about enough that have held things together within that room. But they still are extremely talented. I do think in the last game, we realized how good Quinyon Mitchell and Jalen Carter are. When you have to play defense without those guys, it's pretty difficult. But it's pretty talented roster still. And I do think they have the ability to turn it around. I just feel like Chase, I hate to just give him credit for this, that he kept saying it feels like 2023. But I was going back in my head. I'm like, get an offensive coordinator that's called plays before from outside the building. Bring him in. Shane Steichen. Dominate. Get a head coaching job. Oh, let's keep continuity. Let's bring in a guy from within the building that's never called plays. Let's have Brian Johnson. Doesn't work. Let's get a coordinator from outside the building that's called plays. Bring in Kellen Moore. Oh, it works. He gets a head coaching job. Now let's promote within. And it's like a rinse and repeat mistake they already made once before.
What is it about? What do you think it is? Sorry, I know we gotta go. But what do you think it is about it being internal? Like, why is internal the problem? Why do you have to go out?
I think there's just a thought. I think there is a thought process of trying to keep some sort of continuity for a player that hasn't had the same play caller 2 years in a row since high school.
Yeah. I know why they do it. It's just, why is the opposite working, right?
I know, right? Well, also Chase could probably say there's not that many great play callers in football. I mean, it's hard to be a really good one.
Yeah. Look, I back to Diana's question before we go. I don't trust the Eagles offense. I trust the Eagles defense, and I semi-trust Sirianni. So that's my answer.
I think up until last week, the defense has been playing well this season. So I'll say that.
You too. That's why I trust them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chase, get out of that room before they boot you out. Gather your belongings and have a great call. We'll see everybody next time on Scoop City.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.